Okay, what I'm going to be doing in this video is showing you how to add articulating joints. So in other words, I'm going to break this in between here and put a joint that will hold it together so it'll swing like three or individual signs. I'll put a joint at the top, I'll put the joint here and here, so that in the end I'll have four different individual pieces. So the very first thing you need to do is find your way over here to a spot in Thingiverse called Articulated Anything. I'll have the link right below this video. And what you're going to do is download all files. So when you end up downloading all these files, what you'll see is that it comes to you in a zip folder. So if I take a look here, I already have one downloaded. Here it is in my folder. Now it's zipped together, so there's multiple files in here, and the easiest way to do this in a Chromebook would be to try to click on it, and then it mounts over here is the term for it, and now by opening up this zip folder you can get into those images, and the files are what we need. So if I go back into TinkerCAD over here, what I'm going to do is import these three shapes. So I clicked on import, and I need to choose all three of those little files. They're still here, mounted on the left. Under files, I need all three of them. So just import them as they are. I'll get the hinge next. And you'll see why you'll need these three different parts in just a moment. Great. So now that I have all three of these imported, they kind of pile up in the middle right there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hide all of the stuff that I have already. So I'm highlighting the stuff that's in the way and just clicking the hide button. So here are the parts that go into making this joint. So a mistake I'm making here is that I'm deforming it. I'm going to undo that right now because they need to kind of stay the same size. You can't, happening again. You can't stretch them. You can't stretch them in one direction and expect it to work out well for you. Here is the hole for the hinge. Here is the thing that's going to actually break it in half, and here is the hinge itself. You don't need to really make this because it comes to you already pre-made. If I zoom in, I can show you that on the left side it'll just have two pieces that stick out. On the right side it's got a loop that will enclose it'll enclose a bar that's between these two pieces. I'm trying to show you by zooming in, and it's not letting me. So we'll just have to go with connected right here is a bar that is going, it's like a pin through this loop. Well, anyway, what I'm going to do, because I want to use these in the future and I don't want to have to download them and re-upload them every time, I'm going to go to my go to the very bottom in my shapes collection. And in my shapes collection, now that I've clicked on the hinge, I can create a shape. And I'm going to call that the hinge. Save shape. I'm going to take this second piece, I'm going to turn it into a hole. And this third piece is also going to be a hole. The second piece is going to be a shape named hinge slot. Let's save it. And this stamp is going to be also a shape I create in here. You can name them whatever you like. Now that they're saved over here, I'll never have to go and re-download and anything. It'll always be available to me. So, how do these work? Well, I'm going to move them off to the side and get my piece back into frame here. So let's unhide what I already have. Great. So here's how this works. Now, I'm going to have to turn something sideways. Why don't I turn this whole thing sideways quickly? There we go. Now this piece is the part that is going to create a gap and break it into two pieces. There we go. So now that is long enough to break it into a section here and here, what I want to do is move it over a very exact amount. So it's also here and it's also here. If you're only trying to break it into two pieces and you're not going to need multiple, well, you're done already. But because I want another piece here and another piece here, what I'm going to do is get it kind of close to the word. I'm going to use this duplicate tool, and right now I'm going to jump it over as many spots as I need to, but I'm also going to notice those numbers up on the page there. Right now I've got it at 33 and 0. The 0 is the up down, the 33 is how far over it went. And if I want this to be the exact same amount, all I need to do is click duplicate again, and it'll make the exact same switch that I just made. If you're not familiar with the duplicate tool, you can just copy and paste the cube along. Great. So now we can talk about the hinge, and we can talk about the stamp for the hinge. Now if I put the hinge in here, you'll see that it's not going to work because there is material still surrounding the hinge. So if we printed this, the hinge would not work because of what you see in red there. We need to get rid of the stuff that's in red, and that is what the last piece is for. So this is like a stamp. So we need to be careful and get this exactly nested inside. And the problem right now is that I've got the grid snapping at 1 millimeter. So if I want it to snap exactly somewhere, I need to move this. Let's move it down to 0.1 millimeter. And now I can get it so that this stamp falls inside of everything else. I'm looking at it from all sides to make sure that it's not sticking out the back, sticking out the sides. And once that stamp is made, then this hinge can work perfectly. In other words, it'll get rid of what's red inside of here still. Great, so now these two pieces are matched up exactly the way I want them to be. They seem to be floating above. That's actually okay for now. I can fix all of that later. Oh, they're not floating above, I see. They are going through the red. If I hide the red right now, so I clicked on the red, so just clicking on the red, I can hide it, and then we can get a little better view of what this should look like. So the stamp is entirely inside of that. Well, I'm going to highlight these two and move them together. So let's see. If I zoom out a little bit, where do I want this? If I hold down the Shift key, now I'm moving it exactly left and right, or up and down. The Shift key is what's keeping it perfect. So maybe I want the first one over here. Great. Now, if you are not very good with TinkerCAD, you can always just place these one at a time, and that'll work just fine. What I want to do, though, is copy them all at once. So this is a little bit advanced. If you end up placing these each one at a time, this is what you're looking for. It'll work if you do it one at a time. I want to do them all at once. So I'm going to click on the stamp. And now I want to put stamps across the top of my words. So I'm going to click duplicate. That made a copy of this thing. Now when I grab that copy, I can put it anywhere I want. But if I hold the shift key, now I'm constrained to moving it just to the side. I'm going to move it at exactly 40. Let's move it 50. There, it's exactly 50 to the side. And what's cool about the duplicate tool is that it will duplicate that motion. It'll make a copy, move it over 50. Make a copy, move it over 50. Great, that's perfect. Now I want to do the exact same thing for the hinge. So the hinge, I click duplicate. I'm going to carefully grab it. I'm holding the shift key, that's why it's sliding so nicely to the side. I can't see my measurement, however. So this is not going to work because I can't see the measurement. It's okay. I'm going to back up a little bit. And so, couldn't be quite so close apparently. I'm going to start again. I clicked on the hinge. I clicked duplicate. Now, as I hold the shift key, I'm going to move it over exactly 50 again. If it's off, then it will not work. Moved exactly 50. Awesome. And so now I just need to hit duplicate to have it move over those. So this top row is done. Those hinges are set. What I need to do now is move all of the other pieces to this row and to that row. And the easiest way I found to do it is to highlight them like I just did. If you don't have a mouse, you're going to want to grab a mouse from somewhere and learn how to use the the right button. When you click the right button, you can take a look just like this. I highlighted all of those pieces and I'm going to group them. Try that again. So now I'm grouping just those pieces. And the duplicate tool will work the exact same now. So if I hit duplicate, it makes a copy of all of them. I'm holding down the shift key and I'm moving this exactly 30 again. Was it 33? I'm going to move it exactly 33. There's a reason why I was exact with those figures. You got to remember what numbers you move them. And if I duplicate that, it should put them in the right spot. There in the bottom. So now I'm almost done. What I need to do is start hiding some things so that I can get at these hinges. I just want the hinges. Let's hide this piece. We're even going to hide this piece for the moment. Now I just want these hinges. Now I've got all 5 hinges. I hit duplicate. Holding down my shift key, I slide it over exactly 33. 33 was the gap between these spacers. And now that I have that exactly over, I hit duplicate and it multiplies it for me. Hey, great. There's one more step That's really important. I'm going to unhide everything. So here's unhide. I can't just group this all at once. If I did that, if I group this all at once, what's going to happen is I'm going to lose the details of my hinge. That pink piece basically disappears. I need to group the hinge last. So I'm going to undo that mistake and carefully, these blocks are so tall so that you can select them. I'm going to hold down the shift key and I'm going to just click on this long divider and I'm going to click on my base piece. And what's going to happen when I click group is it's only going to group the things that I've highlighted. So the pink pieces are going to stay where they are. So now I've got the hole punched. The hole is punched so that this piece has everything it needs for the hinge to work. The slot is made lengthwise, and we're almost ready to group the last thing here. Let me go ahead and quickly select and group these holes, holding down the shift key and selecting the bottom piece as well. When I group those, it'll ignore everything but the pink pieces. Perfect. I'm going to highlight all of these tall pieces, hold down the shift key, and select, holding on the shift key, clicking here. When I group that, it'll punch the holes, get ready for the hinges. Now the last thing I'll say is that the block I had was not the same height as these pink pieces. And the bottoms match up perfectly, but the tops are not great. So what I want to do is I may just stretch the whole thing taller. There I've stretched the red block to be the same height as the pink buckles inside. My sign just got significantly wider, but that's okay. What I can do, last of all, is highlight everything and group it. This is ready to print. It should print with articulation such that it will bend in all of these spots. It's ready to go.